Keri Fulton is an award-winning environmental and climate justice advocate. She's joining us right now. Why is the world dealing with such blistering hot weather? In some spots, you see drought, and you see here in Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, it's just been raining like crazy. What's going on?
Well, I think in general, we've had a lot of extreme weather happening over the past previous years, and some of that can be attributed to climate change. I think also we are continuing to develop as a world, and it's changing the infrastructure of our communities. In places that probably would have shielded out some of that heat, we've now created more heat rays to happen because of the way that we've developed. We've cut out trees, we've created more suburbs, we've changed the development, and in those ways, that also contributes to climate change. I think those are contributing to it in a big way.
We heard in Jim's story a gentleman who's fighting these wildfires saying this is the new normal. We got to get used to this. Do we?
I think so. I think that we need to move past just thinking about what we can do to stop climate change and what we can do to adapt to climate change. We need to build more resilient cities. There are a lot of programs out right now that are looking at how do we build resilient cities and outer-lying suburbs. So I think that's important. If we're seeing a trend of more extreme weather, then infrastructure needs to be prepared and governments need to be prepared.
Speaking of governments, the U.S. government in tandem with China, President Obama, President Xi really kind of led the charge for the Paris Climate Agreement. You well know Donald Trump has kind of turned his back on that. Do you think this is kind of a wake-up call? Do you think the administration is going to get that message or not?
You know, with all of the extreme weather that we had last year, we would hope that they would have learned from that. But I don't know if they really are. I think there are so many other agendas. And, you know, one day people will realize that you cannot eat money, that you need to have these resources, that you need to have a planet that's healthy, that's strong, and that everybody is going to have to make a few different sacrifices and really change the way that our economy works. In a lot of ways, our federal government is trying to stifle real solutions to addressing climate change, so we have to figure out ways to move around them.
Quickly, if you can, long-term impacts, what are we going to look at?
Long-term impacts are we're going to see more people moving into urban areas to get closer to resources, which we're already seeing with urbanization. We're going to see people who are going to have to figure out ways to address the overlapping issues every hurricane season. You know, there are still people in Puerto Rico who don't have power, and yet we're reaching into hurricane season once again. Yeah. We're also looking at how are we going to have food security. If we're talking about more droughts, we're looking at less options for food, so we're going to have to think about new ways to feed the world.
We're going to have to leave it there. Keri Fulton, thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate it.